Yeah. Yeah. So that is Chicago music. That is not Texas music. I have to be really clear. I work for a small startup. Although we started up 104 years ago, we're still in business. A lot has changed since then. If you take a look at, well, I guess some of our major technologies, yeah, that's IBM, and yeah, that's IBM, and yeah, that's IBM. And you say, wow, David, how long have you been with IBM? I'm actually a lover of the computer industry. Yes, I've been with IBM since 1979, but I started really, really young. At the rate things are going, I anticipate that will be my retirement with IBM. You say, why? And I will say, because I love the computer business. Now, as was mentioned, I live in Austin, Texas. Now, as a Chicagoan living in Austin, there's a lot to learn about Texas. Now, there's Austin, and then there's Texas, and there's a big difference. And I work in the Emerging Technologies group, so we're always working on something different. Previous to working on cloud technology, I was working on big data technology. And Texas has got this whole, I don't know if you figured it out before, but everything is bigger in Texas, right? At least they think so. When I moved down there, I discovered that's a map of Texas. That's pretty much the way they think of things. And I gave a big data presentation around Hadoop. Anybody that knows, Hadoop is pretty much the foundation that a lot of people use for analyzing big data. Well, afterward, this fellow walks up to me, and now he didn't just walk up. He had those Texas cowboy boots. He had himself one of these Texas cowboy hats. Yeah, absolutely. And he had a belt buckle. I'd say it's about the size of a hubcap. Okay, now in Texas they don't walk up. No, they saunter. This fella, he saunters up, and all things are bigger in Texas. And he said, "Son," says, "you know that big data y'all talking about? Down here we just call it data." Yeah. So that's absolutely true. So as an emerging technology group, we worked on big data, and what we do is we invent. We are an entrepreneurial group within IBM. My boss is an IBM fellow. We create new things. We take it to the customers. We find out, is there business value in this? We don't tell the rest of IBM because we work on things that are often disruptive to their revenue stream. We brought Hadoop in. Well, IBM was making massive amounts of money on DB2. That group would have put a stop to it, so we don't let them know. We come out and we work on new technology. Once we've proven it, we go to our CEO and her senior executives, and we get their blessing, and we bring it into IBM. My boss is an IBM fellow. We've brought in web services and Java and Linux and all of the major drivers within IBM. Well, why did we start working on cloud technology? This is what I would say is the reason behind cloud technology and the adjacent possibles. We have inexpensive disk. Disk is cheap. We have increased processing power, dirt cheap. We have ubiquitous networking. Everywhere we're networked. And Stuart Kaufman, he's a pre-biologist, a theoretical pre-biologist. You gotta love that title if you can get it, right? A theoretical pre-biologist, and he said that 2 or more things must exist before a third thing can exist, right? Like hydrogen and oxygen must exist before there can be water. Well, these things that come together create the adjacent possible, which makes cloud possible. As a result of that, we are starting to see incredible growth, and these numbers become outdated every single day. The latest was 2.5 quadrillion bytes of data from sensors, mobile devices, online transactions, social networks, and that number is growing exponentially. Quadrillion is even difficult to get our minds around. Now, if you want to get your mind around it, you can look at this. There was a chess challenge. There was, as the story goes, a Chinese emperor, and he put out a challenge. make the coolest game. I don't think he used the word coolest. Make the best game ever. And one of the people that made the greatest game ever, chess, came up to him and the king said, I absolutely love it. What do you want as a reward for this? And the person said, well, it's very simple. I would like a grain of rice on the first check, and then 2 grains of rice on the next, and then 4, and then 8, and then 16. And the king thought, well, this is actually embarrassing. You're asking so very, very little. But when you look at how much this multiplies, including the exponential growth we're experiencing in data right now, at the end of that, crossing the chessboard, doubling and doubling and redoubling as we're experiencing every 6 months or less, the total amount of rice when he hit the 64th point on the board was, and I don't know how big that number is, I think we're up in the 461 billion range, it was 1,000 times the global production of all of the rice in the world in 2010. That's incredible. I heard the king cut his head off. Just a rumor, but that's the kind of experience that we are seeing right now with the cloud and the Internet of Things. And here, Gartner predicted, and this is of, I think last week or the week before, by 2017, 50% of Internet of Things solutions will originate in startups that are less than 3 years old. That massive amount of data, all of that massive networking in the cloud, and yes, it will be in the cloud, from companies that are 3 years old or less. That is incredible, and that's the kind of growth that we're experiencing. Digital time moves faster. We are moving at a pace that we have never seen before. The problem is traditional IT is too slow. The traditional development environment is too slow. This is what's running traditional IT. For those of you that have seen Jurassic Park. Now, if you've seen this, by the way, in Jurassic Park, think about the big story here. This guy was the only IT person in all of Jurassic Park. He wanted to steal dino DNA, so he disabled all of the security systems, stole the DNA, made his way out of Jurassic Park, ended up getting killed along the way. But it tells you that the entire story of Jurassic Park was really about an understaffed IT department. Yeah, absolutely. So that IT development cycle being too slow is why we have created what we can call a composable cloud environment. For startups, the composable cloud reduces the time to create your applications. It reduces the cost of buying capital. Our large enterprise customers can buy capital. If the project doesn't work, they write it off. In a startup community, if you buy capital and it doesn't work, you're usually out of business. So we can get rid of that. We can reduce the time for IT spending at little to no cost, and you can try it before you buy it. And that's what we've created with our current cloud technology. That's what we set out as an emerging technology group to do. And I will tell you, I'll switch over here to the catalog to get rid of the animations. If you want to talk about an entrepreneurial pitch, my boss, a few executives, we went in front of our CEO, Ginny Rometty, in her boardroom with her senior technical leaders. I demonstrated this, Bluemix, different user interface at the time, but we demonstrated it to her and we walked out with $1 billion. That's a pretty good call. Pretty good pitch. Now, I was with some of the smartest executives in IBM, but less than 12 months later, it was open for business. Any of you can use this right now. And what the composable cloud environment allows me to do is say, I want to build an application. If I'm in an enterprise or if I'm in a startup, I got an idea. I want to try it. I don't want to pay for it. I want to try it to find out if it works. You can go here today, any one of you. You can do it right now while you're live. Go to mybluemix.net. And or Bluemix.net. And when you say, hey, I want to create an application around the Internet of Things, you grab the services and you can start creating. Still have to be a software developer. Still have to write code. If I want to create something here, I want to create, let's say, a node application. I can give this application a name, and right now I'm probably connected to my server somewhere in Dallas. Let's come up with a good name here. We're going to call it On Stage Live. and I probably spelt live incorrectly, and so there I go. That's good enough. Notice this, onstagelive.mybluemix.net. When I select Create, right now in one of our 40 data centers around the world, we're spinning up an instance of Node, and as soon as that gets done and says that it's ready, that URL is on the web and you can use it. Done. With 40 data centers around the world. In fact, while that's happening, let me go over here and I'll make one live. May I ask your name? Anne? Okay, this one's pretty simple. If we don't know an N, CF, let's do CF, push Anne. And we'll find out if anybody's used that name. And apparently not. So while that is running, right now, I wrote an application this weekend. This very second, I'm taking it from my hard disk, I'm uploading it into Bluemix. I actually wrote a little file that said, when you go up there, grab the things that are necessary to run David's application. So it's running live in the background, and we can see it there, and sure enough, it's starting the application. I've built something to build my application. Now I want to add a service to it. When I go out into my services, let's see, we've got Watson, we've got some mobile services, and then we've got Twilio. We've got Load Impact, BlazeMeter. Notice they say third party. Those are not IBM services. Those are services in the API ecosystem, services that you can use to build your application, yet they're not even IBM services. This is a big change in the history of IBM. These could be your services. That's what's really cool. This is essentially the API ecosystem, the API economy. When you use these, I'll pick one here. I'll go ahead and pick Watson and say I want to build a Watson machine translation application. We just put this up live, so yes, you can go and build Watson applications yourself for free today. We built this. I'm going to put it in this application on stage, and when I click Create right now, I'm taking a beta version of Watson, I'm binding it to the Node instance, I can write my software, I can push it up into the cloud, and it's up and running. That's quite incredible. As this goes, it says, do you want to restage the application? I don't need to. That creates the bindings between them. So this is cool. I just did this for free. Let's go over and see what the estimated cost of this application is. I'll go ahead and click on the estimated cost of the application, and it says, okay, what's Node cost? Well, what if I want 5 instances of Node, or maybe 6 running, and I want to add some more memory? And then right now, Watson is actually free in beta. I can go and estimate the cost of my application. It's up and running. I like it. Terrific. I'm ready. Roll it out to the masses. We have 40 data centers around the world. So let's go back over here. I'm going to actually cancel out of this. I'll go back over into my dashboard. Let's pick this application that we just started creating. The application is up and live. I say, wow, I like this application. Let's add some more instances to this. Let me go back over here. I'll click on this Node.js. There it is. I've got one instance running, and now I say, take it out to the world. You as a startup can build an application in this environment for free with no startup cost and then roll it out to the world. Again, 40 data centers around the world. Yes, we bought a company called SoftLayer, so we have all of these data centers. So I can expand like that. I can determine what the price is for the application. How quickly can I use it? If I go over here, I created, let's see, Ann.mybluemix.net. And here we go, the page loads. And if anybody wants to go to Ann.mybluemix.net right now, I'm going to give myself a name and select go. And there's nobody chatting. So any of you go out there and chat, and you're going to be live. I just put an application live out on the internet, and anybody out there can go and chat on it, and I can reach out to everyone around the world except for China. That's incredible. If I want to go... except for China. Who would have guessed, right? So if I want to go back over here, I mentioned that I can scale my application, I can change the pricing of my application, I can deploy my application very quickly, and here is from Transfer Wisehacker. I like the name. Or, wait a minute, Transferweishake, yeah, and Dominic, and hi there, and hello, and this is pretty incredible. And so who needs John's application for chat? I wrote this on Saturday, and I deployed it just now, and it's live out on the web. And if I want to go and roll out more instances, I can crank out more instances. Any of you can go and try this at Bluemix.net. When I talked about the API ecosystem here, this is the most important part for you as startups. These companies, along with IBM, these are their APIs. I can build it into my application. There is a site a friend of mine created, John Musser, and it's called Programmable Web. He's gone out right now and found 12,239 APIs on the web. I went out on a search. I looked at Erste Bank, 0 APIs. I looked at, here's another one, Hoffer, 0 APIs, not so good. I went over here and I searched on Y Combinator. They have 176 APIs available on the internet for me to build into my application right now. That is the API economy, because that's where you're going to sell your applications. You're going to sell your applications in the cloud. Daimler is going to buy their parts from Bosch, and Bosch has to be out there so they can build their applications into it. Now, let me talk a little bit about the IBM advantage here, and I'm not here to pitch IBM. This is for all of you in the startup community to understand what it's like to build your cloud services, put them out there for others to consume within their application. Now, there's a famous misquote by our CEO and founder, Thomas J. Watson. He was once misquoted on saying, "I think there's a world market for maybe 5 computers." I think he got it wrong, but the cloud's starting to look like one. Some other famous misquotes: computers in the future may weigh no more than 1.5 tons. Yep, popular mechanics. Here's one from Ken Olsen, the founder of DEC. There's no reason anyone would want to have a computer in their home. Predictions, not so good. 640K ought to be enough for anybody. Bill Gates, 1981. And here's one that I created myself. Now, I have been with IBM a very, very long time, and there was a point where I was out on the news networks and I was introducing people to this thing called the internet. There were some people that were skeptical about it, and so here's one that says, ooh, is this internet a pie in the sky kind of thing?
So this is a graphical like Mosaic that we've heard a lot about.
This is very much like Mosaic, and it allows me to put information in front of a user graphically. Whether it's, in this case, I can actually go out and I can look at things like audio. I can download audio, video. If I was a small business, I would want to present my catalog of services or supplies to a customer using a web page. They can click, put in name, address, phone number, and I can sell products on the internet.
Right. So the internet is not just some pie in the sky kind of thing. There really is value for the business user. Lots of value. Lots of things they can go out and research, lots of ways for them to network, lots of ways for them to get the word out about themselves.
If a small business is not looking at the internet, they better, because their competition is.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, and you know what's interesting? I still have that shirt. Yeah, yeah, very much. So my message here to us all is that if a business is not looking at the API ecosystem, they should be, because their competition is. And it's as simple as making your services, even if you're in the service of delivering products, making your services available in the ecosystem so that people can build them into their applications so they can add it in, and you start to see money flow that way. It's going to be a completely different way for us selling software. Now think of the change that IBM is taking place here. When I hired on with IBM, you could not own an IBM computer at all. We only leased them. The United States government sued us. We started to sell them, right? The change now is that you can go to a website and you don't even have to put in a credit card, and you can use IBM data centers around the world to be able to use on your systems. Now, IBM, the cloud, progressive startups, we're not a startup in the social media business. That's not what we do. We're a company that reinvents itself. And over 104 years, we have reinvented ourselves many times. Our CEO has put all of the focus in IBM on two things, Watson and cloud computing. And we're in the midst of reinventing ourselves. And when you build out your applications for the future, and you're hoping, hey, I don't want this to last a year or 2 years. I want this to be around for a long, long time. Since we started, there is not another single competitor that is still in the business that we're in today. So if there's a value that we can add there, and I'm out here pitching as an IBMer, but even if I skip the IBM stuff, get your services out there in the API ecosystem, try them for free, and when you're ready at zero to no cost, crank it up. And I will leave you with a couple country western lyrics from Texas. This is true stuff now. I got to tell you, you get down. Now remember, I'm a Chicagoan, so a couple of them are, and I've heard this in songs, "You're the reason our children are ugly." That's in a country western song, okay? I hate to make you cry, but at least your face is cleaner. Yep. And my favorite, taking out the trash, is when I have to take your parents to the movies. Absolutely. No, there's one more. I gave her the ring, she gave me the finger. Yeah, that's a country music lyric. So let's see how the application is running. And I know I've gone over in time. This is wicked. This is a true game change. This must be dust for Heroku. And I'm going to copy this, do a screen cap, and send it to my boss. I'm out of time. Thank you all very much.
Give it up for David Barnes.
My man.